Yeah, JD79 here. I mean, you've seen a lot, and I've seen a lot of things on the news today about, video games being rebooted. You've seen the return of Mortal Kombat, the return of Yars' Revenge, and various sorts of magazines have debated about the rebooting of the games. There is one game of a series that desperately needs a reboot, and that is Final Fantasy. And granted, Final Fantasy back in the '90s was that was a golden age of Final Fantasy, when the days of the Super Nintendo and the Sony PlayStation. Um, it started off in releasing in 1987, and the Japanese Famicom in 1991, and even Nintendo. And 2, 3, and 5 wasn't released in America until later on here. And at that time, 4 and 6 was released in the United States as 2 and 3. And many people were confused when Final Fantasy 7 said, hey, why is it 4, 5, and 6 came out here? But anyway, that's going to be a different story here. But today, we're going to be talking about the history of Final Fantasy and how the series went here. There is a reason why Final Fantasy games in the 90s were I really expect were the premium titles back in there, but it's just not that premium as it is right now. And the reason why, and by the way, to tell you the truth, Final Fantasy 13, it sucked. I mean, gone are the days of yeah, I'm saying the crystal rooms, the and the overworld map and the great medieval style things here. You had those castles, like Final Fantasy 5, 6, and 9, in the previous years. And yeah, to tell you the truth, Final Fantasy 6 and 9 was 9 and 6 anyway were the best games, and the earlier Final Fantasy games was I liked them better. I mean, it's free roaming. You can roam around freely. And the only thing that could guide you is to see what you can do next. But there's also those side quests that you can be able to do. For instance, like Final Fantasy VI, you had those side quests. And also, it has these, also it has these little moments, like the opera room and whatnot. And Final Fantasy IX was also great because you have all these side games to play with around here. The Chocobo going around the world and searching for treasure that bring you into that level up in the Chocobo. And the other thing, and the other feature I like on the previous Final Fantasy games is the classes. You get White Wizard, you get Black Wizard, Dragoons, Knights, and like all that stuff like that. Something that it's just they took it away in the later Final Fantasy games. Um, See, nowadays Final Fantasy is not. It's becoming more and more too linear. I mean, you're on a rail of about completing the game, and you're stuck on this rail. You just walk forward, fight a couple of enemies, go to a town, fight a couple of enemies, go into a town. It's just not. You don't have the overworld. You don't have the freedom anymore. And that's why in Final Fantasy 13, it's just not all that great at all. Along the way, Final Fantasy Squaresoft decided to go massively multiplayer online on the Final Fantasy series here. Both of them just didn't work here. In the case of Final Fantasy 14, at least they've brought back the classic victory music and some of the battle theme. And too bad, it's just not that great. Many people had this bad review and reviews of it, and I don't think it probably worked really well here. I think online, I think being online about this may be good for multiplayer games like, come beating your chocobos online, um, designing your town, and like, going to future worlds here. But other than that, like when I think about Final Fantasy, I think of the crystal rooms. The crystal. You know that crystal when you start up here. Um, that and it affected the crescendo music here, the prelude music when you start up here. Sort of like when you hear that that whatever tune when you start up here in Final Fantasy 4 when you start up when you start up here when you load the data in, and that type of stuff here. And here's what Squaresoft really needs to do for Final. And now I'm going to end this video here. That was my thoughts on the series that's been going thus far. Here's what they should do in Final Fantasy 15. I think they should bring it back to the roots. Bring back the overworld map where you walk around in between towns. Bring back the magic system, the job system. Whether it be a monk or a fighter or the Cura spells, and sometimes the summoned monsters can have your characters learn spells, like sort of like the Esper Materia based magic and Final Fantasy 5 and 6. But there is one thing which could be a pretty new to the series, is move support. I actually kind of like the... Actually, one thing I do admit, though, is I like the battles. I like the real-time battle sequences in Final Fantasy 12. Why not have one active character and a battle sequence, like for a night? And you swing your sword by flipping your PlayStation Move around. Or you can cast black magic by... your move spear turns into this fire spell. You do that and you throw the spell like that. And sometimes in your Dragoon, you transition to two of these controllers and you swing up to jump, and then you put your controller down to dive down towards an enemy. And that'd be a very good idea. Yeah, that's what move support is. You have your move and your navigation support. You move your navigation to as a normal setting. When you move your character around in the navigation, and you press the move button for action. The menu screen offers like a little mouse movement where you can actually use a move to navigate through the characters and sort them out, use equipment, and like that. Yeah, other than that, go back to Medevil. Go towards a more non-linear approach. Do some side quests, and make it expandable so that you can get new quests that are on the way. So even if you beat the game on there's an expansion pack that comes out that brings you into new quests that are coming in. And that's what I have to say about Final Fantasy 15. So, to sum it up, one thing. Medevil, bring back the Chocobos and the class and the classic stuff from the previous Final Fantasy games. Make it expandable, move support, and that's what I like to see in Final Fantasy 15. And as far as music is concerned, go back to the classics in the music here. Well, anyway, This is me, JD, signing out. And happy gaming.